You've got fantasy football drafts happening any day now, and we are on a mission to help you crush them this year. This is Fantasy Sanctuary. I'm Tom Strachan, and we've been asking fantasy football experts for their favorite free picks in drafts. Today, we've got Pete Overzet on to give his three favorite players he wants in every single draft this year. After drafting hundreds of teams this offseason, Pete, the finish line, it's in sight, but that also means it's high stakes season. Have you been prioritizing the guys we're going to talk about tonight in your big money drafts?
Yeah, it's always tough, right? I do a lot of drafts with co-managers over on Ship Chasing. So you're kind of managing, what do we collectively want to do? But I am getting in some big dog drafts right now. It's tough, right? Because I do like to play an individual draft room. I don't want to force things. But a guy who might be on the thumbnail today, I was at the 5-6 turn. I said, you know what? I'm not waiting to be on the other side of the board to get the ADP value. I'm just grabbing my guy. So I am starting to reach a little bit more than I used to.
Yeah, and I think that as you put more money in, or if you're doing less drafts, if you're only going to go out and do a couple of drafts this off season, then it's absolutely fine. Go and have fun with it. That's what this is supposed to be. And by this point of the draft season, when you've done a lot of drafts like we have, you also know the ways you can make up for reaching on a player. We are going to start with a tight end, Trey McBride, who on CBS goes at pick 51, ESPN 49, NFL 39, and Yahoo 48, which is obviously quite different to where he's going in best ball drafts. But this is one of the guys who was one of 2023's breakout stars. Like, he was overshadowed a bit by Sam Laporta. Sam Laporta did it more consistently across the year. But from the point where Zach Ertz was removed from the Cardinals offense, Trey McBride scored only 0.7 half PPR points per game fewer than Laporta. Are you just betting on that balancing out a lot more this year?
Yeah. And I think the only kind of counter I've heard to people who don't like Trey McBride is more this argument of, hey, Marvin Harrison just could come in, be the alpha target earner in this offense. But I would point them to what's happening in Detroit, where Amon-Ra St. Brown is an alpha target earner. They have a really good running game. And these guys can all coexist. I think the thing that's exciting about Trey McBride is he can get it done in a lot of ways. He can either earn a lot of targets. He's got that kind of George Kittle-esque yak ability too, where he can shed tackles. He also is just a big red zone presence. So I'm trying not to overthink exactly how Trey McBride scores points. I just think he's really good. I think he's in an ascending offense. And I think he's going to be one of the guys we could look back on and be like, wait, why weren't we selecting this guy earlier as we select him at the 1-2 turn in 2025 drafts?
Yeah, and to your point, he led all tight ends in target share week 8 to 17 last year, which is probably going to regress because Marvin Harrison's going to come in there and take some of that away. But if you look at the situations between the Lions and the Cardinals, and then you throw in something like, okay, Travis Kelce, when he was at his peak playing with Tyreek Hill, are we saying that this offense could be as good as those? Maybe, but it doesn't even need to be quite as good as those, because when you look behind Trey McBride, there's guys like Michael Wilson, who's okay, and there's guys like Greg Dortch, there's guys like James Conner. But it just feels like Trey McBride's the ascending player on an offense which is going to be in pass heavy situations because the defense is going to be quite bad. But also, when we compare Trey McBride across the board to the rest of the tight ends, and you look at them, okay, Sam Laporta, what if he regresses? He got there on touchdowns a little bit. If he has negative touchdown regression, if Trey McBride has positive touchdown regression from the 3 that he scored, what if we see a situation in Baltimore where Mark Andrews is suddenly getting his work eaten into by Isaiah Likely? What if Travis Kelce is dust again, like he was for most of the regular season last year? And what if George Kittle just continues to be very volatile? Is Trey McBride your hands down favorite elite tight end, or are you finding that you just want one of those guys no matter what?
Yeah, I have been I have my most exposure is on that kind of it's McBride and then it's Kittle and Pitts because they're the two cheapest of kind of what I consider the elite tight end tier. I'm definitely lighter on Laporta and Kelsey because of their cost. I've actually been shocked recently that my Trey McBride is not my highest drafted tight end. And part of it was an overcorrection. I had so much Trey McBride earlier. I was like, I should start taking some Kincaid. I should swing back and get some more Kittle and Pitts. I'm actually worried as we do this show that I swung the pendulum too far. He is going to be a priority for me, and I want to grab some high stakes shares of him as well.
Yeah, I'm sitting at 16% Trey McBride, just behind my Mark Andrews exposure. But when you go overly aggressive on those guys, it does mean that you end up easing back from some of the other guys. And as we get closer to draft season, I've definitely been mixing in some Dalton Kincaid. The second player that we're going to talk about, we'll get to in just a second. But first, if you're finding this channel for the first time, hit that subscribe button. We just smashed through 3,000 subscribers, but we're not stopping there. Hit the subscribe button for DFS, Dynasty, Best Ball, and Redraft content all year round. Jaxon Smith-Njigba goes at 112 on CBS, 97 on ESPN, 114 on NFL, and 90th on Yahoo. It's a new offense under Ryan Grubb, who I think a lot of us are excited about. And this time last year, we were all very excited about this guy who'd outproduced Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave in college in 2021. We know the Seahawks looked a bit dusty last year. So, what is it that makes you so bullish on JSN this year?
Yeah, I think there are just so many variables that have changed, and it makes me want to continue to go back to who he was in college. And again, he played his rookie year as a 21-year-old, which has always been one of the strongest indicators for breakouts, either in year one or in year two. There's always so few of those players. Blair Andrews over on RotoViz did some awesome work about that. And Jaxon Smith-Njigba falls into a classic year two breakout category of a guy who can either see more routes and then actually see more of a downfield role. And if we mix that with his skill level, his overall efficiency, we could see a full blown breakout. And then the reason I'm willing to make excuses for him, I mean, his entire early part of the year last year was slowed down by a wrist injury. The team said how he looks now compared to last year at this time is night and day. And on top of that, I feel like we have almost as close to a 180 as you can get as far as the offensive coordinator here, Ryan Grubb, coming from Washington, oversaw one of the more prolific passing attacks compared to Shane Waldron, who I think, pigeonholed JSN into a really weird, short, around the line of scrimmage role. And we've already seen in the preseason JSN getting loose down the field. He has that skill set. So I think this offense is going to open up. I think he's going to ascend to be like the clear 1B behind Metcalf's 1A in this offense. And I'm just really excited about the Grubb, McDonald, JSN year two kind of bounce.
Yeah, we kind of saw JSN get a bit stronger as the season went on. Like week 12 to 17, he saw 4 receptions per game, which was just below what Tyler Lockett and DK were averaging at like 4.2 and 4.3 each. He was identical to Tyler Lockett in yards per route run. Do you think he's really going to separate from Lockett? Do you think he can overtake DK in terms of target earning potential?
Yeah, I mean, when you look to like when and I've been relying on Blair's research for a lot of this stuff, one of the main things, it's not like these players magically become better, they get better roles or more opportunity. And last year, Tyler Lockett, I think, ran 50 plus more routes than JSN. Even if we start to flip that and give some of those extra routes and 2 wide receiver sets to JSN, it's not hard for me to envision him lapping him. And Lockett was pretty inefficient at the end of last year. When we kind of talk about wide receivers who could be hitting an age cliff, I do think there are a lot of concerns about Tyler Lockett. And when you couple that to what the team is telling us, right? Like, if this isn't like one of those situations where the team's like, he doesn't have it. I mean, it has been rave reviews for JSN. So yes, does that confirm my priors of wanting JSN to be good? But I also, I think that it does have some signal, and I think he is ready to leapfrog Tyler Lockett on the depth chart.
Just going back to what you said about how Tyler Lockett got injured, we do see these kind of rookies where they get injured in their first off season and then they struggle to produce straight away. Has the aftermath of what happened with JSN put you off drafting any of the rookies who've currently got injured in training camp this year?
I do think it's something you pay attention to, and because man, the last thing you want is a slow start for these guys. I'm trying to think of a good example. Do you have one right now of a
Well,
key rookie injury?
so, I mean, Marshawn Lloyd would obviously be one
Yeah.
that for me, I kind of backed way off when he got injured. But yeah, in terms of other guys like Tyrone Tracy.
Yeah, I mean, I think I do. I back off. I've been very quick to, stop drafting a guy if there's the injury or the news. Marshawn Lloyd's a good example. Did stop drafting him because I was drafting him at a good clip, and now my ownership is down to like 11%. I think I was at like
Yeah,
15, 16 with him.
same.
But I will just mention we're recording this on Tuesday or Tuesday afternoon. AJ Dillon is out for the year, is the news that just happened. So obviously, it's going to be the Josh Jacobs show if Marshawn Lloyd opens up on the IR, but Marshawn Lloyd's going to have no competition for that RB2 role when he comes back, with all respects to Emmanuel Wilson. So, yeah, I think you want to think about the prices on those injuries and not get too frothy. But in the Lloyd example, it's like, I'm back in again.
Oh yeah, big time. I hadn't seen that news, but I will be heading back to my best ball exposure page quickly after this. Player three, you're more of a sleeper pick that we asked you to bring to the table. Bucky Irving, who, if you're playing in redraft leagues, he is buried in ADP on Yahoo, pick 166, NFL 267. You've really got to scroll the F down there. ESPN, undrafted, doesn't even have an ADP, and CBS 184. He increased his production every year throughout college. And the thing with Irving that everybody says is that he's incredibly efficient, but he didn't test particularly well. He had a 4.55 40-yard dash. Is this a bet on Bucky Irving's profile and that kind of efficiency that we saw in college? Or is it more about betting against Rashad White?
I think it is both, right? And I think where you sometimes get in trouble is if it's just one or the other, and you're like, I want to bet against this guy. But everything we've heard about Bucky Irving, what he's done in the preseason as well, he's taken advantage of all of his opportunities. I've seen a lot of people talking about how he showed out in pass protection too, which we know, like the Bucks, even going back to when they had Tom Brady, they needed that running back to protect the quarterback. That's why Leonard Fournette was able to carve out such a big role there in the twilight of his career. If you're telling me that Bucky Irving is a better rusher than Rashad White, which I think he is, and can also keep his quarterback protected, I think that's going to open up a ton of opportunities for him to get on the field. And I think, I like a guy like Ray Davis a lot too. I fully expect kind of James Cook to be the lead back there. He has more of a specific niche role. I would not be shocked though if Bucky Irving is in like a 60-40 split with Rashad White off the rip. Like that wouldn't shock me. And if that's the case, he is an unbelievable value because at this price, you can survive him not having a standalone role. You could just have him be a guy who, if Rashad White gets hurt, he gets, 60, 70%. And that's a smash just in a contingent capacity. We draft the Tyler Algiers, before him, the Ty Chandlers. I think if you get this standalone role with Bucky Irving, you are going to wish you drafted a ton of him.
Yeah, and I think overall the Bucks run game can be a lot better this year. Last year they were really banged up. They lost their center for the year just before the season started, and now all reports suggest that the guy playing center for them this year is looking very impressive. So definitely in on Bucky Irving, and I think if anything happens to Rashad White, you've got a player who can be a top 24 running back every week. If you agree with these picks, let us know in the comments. If you don't agree, just let us know in the comments because every single comment from a subscriber this summer gets entered into our summer giveaway for $100 in cold hard cash, 12 months free access to all our premium content, my weekly DFS wraps, Rich's Dynasty Trade Calculator, trade values, and so much more, as well as a $25 voucher for our merch store. Pete, I know you're a busy man. What have you got going on that people should be checking out right now?
Yeah, this next week is a super busy week. We'll have a couple more best ball drafts to wrap up. I think some of the contests are going to be filling here over the weekend. If you want to watch us do high stakes drafts, Ship Chasing is a great spot for that. I write a lot of content over for Fantasy Life, a regular newsletter. If you want something in your inbox in the mornings where I cover all the latest news and notes you need to know. So yeah, streaming, drafts, writing over at Fantasy Life, just staying busy right now.
Love it. And definitely worth checking out Pete's Best Ball Bros video that dropped yesterday. A lot of fun. If you want more of these free picks from top experts around the industry, check out videos from John Paulson from 4for4, Andrew Erickson from Fantasy Pros, and JJ Zacharyson of Late Round QB, which are all on this channel and linked in the description.